The host of today's NAMM breakfast session helps businesses reach their potential in the digital age. He's been called a web guru by the New York Times and one of 20 speakers you don't want to miss by Forbes magazine. Please give a warm NAMM welcome for Marcus Sheridan.
Oh, it's going to be a good morning. Let's give it up one more time for Stan and Will. Let's give it up for them, huh? Very well done. Music does make people happy, and I'm feeling pretty good this morning. And we're going to continue that happiness with a conversation that is impacting all of us. Let's turn up the house lights a little bit so I can see some eyes this morning, because I am a man of the people. That's right, a man of the people. So let's have a conversation today, and let's begin with a number and a trend that's changing the world. Changing your world, changing mine, and it's this phrase, 0 moment of truth. What's up, brother?
You are, bro.
Yeah, he said you are. Thank you, I'll take it. You are too, my man. So, 0 moment of truth. I'm gonna define it, and then a really smart person in the room is gonna tell me the relationship between 70% and 0 moment of truth, and it could be you, Tim. Are you ready, sir? No, good. We got one scared audience member already. This is good. So, 0 moment of truth is the first time a prospect contacts you and you know they exist, right? So it could be the moment that they walk into your retail location, or it could be the moment that they fill out a form on your website, or that they call you, but it's the moment you now know that they might want to do business with you, okay? So that's 0 moment of truth. So who can tell me the relationship between 70% and 0 moment of truth? Does anybody have a guess in the room? Anybody? Go ahead, say it loud. Yes, so this is what we know, that today, on average, 70% of the buying decision is made before 0 moment of truth. Dan, 70% of the buying decision is made before they call you, before they contact you, and certainly before they walk into your store. 70% on average. Now, if we look at this, it begs a couple of questions, right? Because let's just go back in time for a second. And let's say it's 15 years ago, and we said, what percentage of the buying decision was made before someone had walked into a store, before someone had talked to a salesperson 15, 20 years ago? What do you think that number would have been? Anybody give me a guess? Come on. 10%. 20% I heard. So if we're at 70% today, the question is for each and every one of us, where is this number going to be over the next 5, 10, 15 years? Where's it going to go? It's going to go up, isn't it? And so the question therefore begs, what does it mean for you? And it also begs a few other questions like, for example, if this number's true, and I know not everybody in here has a, quote, sales department, but just stay with me for a second. If this number is true, which department of your organization has a greater impact on the actual sale of the thing? Is it the sales department or is it the marketing department? Which one? Marketing, because 70% is happening there. Yet notwithstanding, generally speaking, when a company's in financial trouble, the first department that gets laid off is marketing. That's how we pay them back for their goodness. All you marketers feel very good right now, don't you? And generally speaking, when we're looking to grow the business, the first department that gets hired is sales. And so the question is why? And it's because for so long, we've attached all the numbers to sales, but never in the history of the world can we definitively measure the revenue that marketing is generating, especially with digital. And we're going to talk about that today. And that's a foundation of this change that's happening in this world. So you say, well, if 70% of this is happening before they even come to my store, I better have a great website. Okay, sure, fine. We'll take it. When you hear the phrase great website, what does that mean for you as a user, as a consumer? Like, how would you define at this point, 2018, the phrase great website? Anybody give me an answer quickly? Yeah. Well, my man said number one. Yes, if you're the business, but what if you're the user? Everybody almost said the same thing in this group. They all said easy. That's right, easy. Because the essence of a great website, of a great buying experience today is I want to find it, and I want to find it now, fast, quickly. And that is how the game has changed. Now, my quick story. Can anybody tell me, really smart person in this room, what type of in-ground swimming pool this is? In other words, what's it made out of? Anybody know? Gunite. That's all they have in California, right? This is a fiberglass swimming pool, and this is one of roughly about 1,200 fiberglass swimming pools my company, River Pools and Spas, has installed throughout Virginia and Maryland. And so now you're saying to yourself, NAMM brought in a pool guy to talk to me this morning. I know it's pretty messed up. I agree. Now, things were going okay for a company who started in 2001, and we were growing the business, fighting along, and then all of a sudden this happened. What's this date and number represent? Anybody know? Yeah, day of the stock market. Good or bad day for pool guys? Yeah, bad day. Because generally speaking, how do most people get the money to buy a pool? Well, of course, sometimes people say bonuses. No, this is America. They borrow it. And after that day, most people didn't have money in their home to even borrow so that they could get a pool. And within 48 hours of that day, we lost $250,000 in business. And then things started to get worse and worse and worse over the coming weeks. And then by January of 2009, this is where we were as an organization going over that beautiful edge. I talked to 3 consultants that month. All 3 consultants said the same thing. Marcus, you should file bankruptcy. But just like many of you business owners, if I filed bankruptcy, I was going to lose my home. My 2 business partners would have lost their homes. My 16 employees would have lost their jobs. And so today we're going to talk about how we got back over that edge. Now, always have one big fear, though. Even though this story has been featured in books and publications, and now the philosophies of what we've done with They Ask You Answer, which we're going to talk about, are taught in college universities, despite all of this, there are people in this room today that are going to hear what I say, and they're going to say, well, Marcus, that might have worked for you as a pool guy, but you see, here in my business, things are a little bit different. That's right, Dan. What percentage of businesses in the world truly believe they're different? 100%. Nobody's ever told me in my trips around the world talking to audiences like you, nobody's ever said, yeah, Marcus, we're pretty much just like them. Nobody ever says that. And it's because we all want to feel special, and you are special. But if you look at why people buy from you, it's the same reason they bought from me as a pool guy. It's the same reason now they bring me on these stages. It's because for some reason they trusted you more than that other company. And fundamentally, the business that we all share, that we're all in, is the business of trust. And that's what I'm talking about this morning. I want to help you become the most trusted voice in your space. Take away those fancy phrases like sales, marketing, all that stuff. We must look at this as the business of trust. And if we see it that way, we're going to be very, very successful. Now, when we were going over the edge, and I started to study the internet, I was looking at all these fancy phrases like inbound marketing, content marketing, social media, all this stuff. And what I heard to myself was, Marcus, if you just obsess over the questions you get every single day from your customers, and you're willing to address those questions, well, you just might save your business. So our core philosophy became 4 simple words, which I'm hoping this morning you're going to embrace in your business as well, which of course is They Ask You Answer. It's the title of what became a best-selling book, and it's the mindset of, if anybody has ever asked you the question, that you feel like it's your moral obligation to address it on the front end, because if you don't, then they're going to keep looking, and they're going to go to that person that actually is willing to have the conversation, and because they were willing to have that conversation, that's where they bought that thing. Now, we're going to see how this applies to us in just a second, but unfortunately, most businesses embrace what we call ostrich marketing. Haven't heard that one before, have you, Carmen? Carmen says, I did not know I was going to be spoken to this morning. Yes. Isn't it great? It's rock and roll fever. So, an ostrich, when it has a problem, what does it do? What does it do? Sticks its head in the sand, which, by the way, is a total myth, but it's a good example, right? And so it sticks its head in the sand because it thinks, what's going to happen with the problem? It'll go away, but does it ever go away? Of course not. So how does this apply to us? Has there ever been a question that you get all the time, maybe on the sales floor, on the retail floor, maybe from vendors, where you've said to yourself, you know what? We can't address that question on the website. Why don't we wait till we're face-to-face with the individual? If you can't think of one, I'm getting ready to show you a bunch, because here's the reality. Most companies adhere to this philosophy of the ostrich. Now, here's what's crazy. There's basically in every industry, especially in retail, 5 subjects that buyers are obsessed with. 5 subjects that before you go to that store, you want to know those 5 things to say, okay, I can walk through those doors. 5 subjects that if somebody is interested in your brand, if you're a manufacturer, that they want to say, okay, it's worth even going to that retail store to consider that thing. Here are the 5. As buyers, we want to know, how much does it cost? We want to know, what are the drawbacks with it? We want to know, how does it compare to that other thing that we're also looking at? We want to know, what is everybody saying about it? And we want to know what the best it is. And here's what's crazy. Businesses fundamentally don't like to talk about it. We're going to show that today. These 5 areas literally run the economy, and they run your business. The way people buy today is decided upon these 5 pillars. and we're going to address each one, and you're going to see definitively how it applies to you, and I'm going to start with the one that's always so fun. Let's start with money. You want to start with money? Just say yes so I feel good. Say yes. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. Now, I need everybody to participate. It's going to be fun. Now, by show of hands, how many of you have researched how much something cost online, let's say, over the last year or so? By show of hands, okay? Anybody here living off the grid? This man in the front, make sure you get a camera. Yep, that's the one. That's the one right there. Yes, sir. But you know, living off the grid's cool these days. Totally fine. Totally fine. Now, when you're on a website and you can't find anything about cost and price, what is the emotion you experience? What's the emotion? Say it. Frustration. My friends, that is the F word of the internet. Frustration. So the question is, what gives you the right in that moment to feel frustrated? What gives you the right? Because you don't have the answer. My man's getting mad just even talking about it right now. He's over here just saying, you don't have to get the answer. Exactly. So in this moment of, what's your name, by the way? Herb. In this moment of frustration, Herb, do you say to yourself, that's okay, I'm sure it's on this website somewhere. I'll just keep digging on this website until I find it. Silly. On this moment of frustration, Herb, do you say to yourself, oh, that's okay, they're not talking about cost and price. They're a value-based business. I shall call them on the phone instead. Because you stopped doing that, didn't you? Because instead of calling them or continuing to look on that website, you as the buyer, you as the searcher, you keep doing what? You keep searching, and you search until what happens, Herb? You find what you were looking for, and generally speaking, whoever gives you what you were looking for, they get what? Your business, and if not your business, at least they get first contact. And I'm sure we could all agree in this room, if we had a choice, we'd always rather be the first one contacted every time. Yet notwithstanding, in this industry, many of you are saying, okay, well, we're retail and we have e-commerce, we talk about our prices. Oh, no. Not necessarily. And almost every single manufacturer in this room doesn't talk about prices. So let's analyze this for a minute. The question is, why do so many, and some of you are looking at me like, this guy doesn't understand my business, okay? We're going to play and we're going to have fun. Now, there's basically 3 reasons why we as businesses don't like to talk in detail about cost and price on the website. I'm going to say them quickly for time. First reason is because we don't want to give it away to our competitors. Now, here's what's funny about the competition. If I came to anybody and I said, do you have a very good sense as to what your competitors charge, what would you say? Absolutely. And so if you have a good sense as to what your competitors charge, it therefore means what? That's right. They have a good sense as to what you charge. My man's looking at me like, daggone, that was deep, bro. Yeah, I know. It's deep stuff, right? Now, so this is the big secret, non-secret. Everybody acts like nobody knows what everybody's charging, when in reality, everybody really understands very, very well what everybody's charging. There's no secrets anymore, not in the digital world. Now, the second reason why we don't like to talk about cost and price on the website is because we say, well, it depends. That's the easiest one to answer. Because it's our duty to explain what drives the cost up, what drives the cost down. Why are some guitars so daggone expensive, yet some are so cheap? Fundamentally, what is the difference for those that don't know, that are just getting in the game, or maybe those that don't have as much experience? Why do things cost what they cost? People want to know. And the third reason why we say we don't like to talk about cost and price so much on our website is because we say if we're more expensive than everybody, we just might lose the business, which is funny because we don't have it yet, do we? Now, here's what's interesting about it. The thing that actually scares us away that we established with our friend Herb is when they don't talk about money, cost, and price. Case in point, let's just look at an analysis together. All right, this is really, really simple. So let's say that you wanted to go to a new restaurant tonight. You've never been there before. Okay, so you're going to take a loved one. You want it to be a great experience, right, Christine? You are beautiful this morning, by the way. You look wonderful this morning, Christine. So you want it to be a great experience. And so before you go to that website tonight, most people in this world, you're going to do 2 things other than make a reservation. What are the 2 things you're going to do before you go to that restaurant tonight to make sure it's a great experience? What are you going to do? Okay, that's right. You're going to look at reviews and you're going to look at the menu. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If you go to the menu and there is no pricing, are you still going to go? Now, some of you are saying, well, that depends. Is this a business expense or not? That's very fair. That's very fair. But I know how y'all think. It's cool. I'm one of you. But the reality is, this is what we found. In that moment, 80% of all people will not go. And it's not because they can't afford it, but it's because the moment they left it blank, they planted a seed of doubt. And when seeds of doubt exist, inertia occurs. This is what kills your landing pages. This is what kills your shopping carts. We must eliminate all doubt. That is the key. That is the essence of trust in this digital age that we're a part of. Now, quick question. How much does the fiberglass pool cost? Does anybody know? Anybody know? Yeah, my man said too much. All right, better work harder. Better work harder. So, could it cost $50,000? Yes. Could it cost $100,000? Sure, even $200,000. We can get you there, I promise, I promise. Now, ultimately, the answer to how much does a fiberglass pool cost is what it is for so many items in this world, which is 2 words. Well, it depends, doesn't it? And when we embrace this philosophy at River Pools of they ask, you answer, the first piece of content we put on our website was, how much does the fiberglass pool cost? And we said, you know what, it's a lot like buying a car. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of accessories. And we explained all those options and accessories. What would drive it up? What would drive it down? Why are some companies so expensive, yet some so cheap? But we explained the thing. And what's crazy is 7 years ago, how many pool companies in the world had addressed this simple question on their website? Not a single one. And why? Because they were afraid of the same thing so many businesses and manufacturers are afraid of, even retailers. And so therefore, we embrace this. And what happened next? People started to call me and say, Marcus, thank you so much, because finally somebody was willing to talk to me about this and teach me about this. So our sales calls were very, very different. They were more prepared. And even better than that, from a search perspective, if you went online over the next couple days and literally within 48 hours and you search average cost fiberglass pool, how much does the fiberglass pool cost? Any of these phrases you see, it was the first one you see on the left side of search engine results. You know Google, right? Now, that's just visitors. That's nothing special. So let's look and see where the rubber meets the road. Now, I'm going to get a little bit technical, so stay with me just for a second here. Stay with me. Now, once this occurred, then we started to see some serious action. Here's a list of the #1 phrases that generated the most traffic to our website over the next few years. Now, let's look at the top one here. So we had 13,000 people that you can see from the top. Went to Google, they searched fiberglass pool prices, and of those, 30 of them filled out a form and said, I want to get a quote from you. Now, this is technical, but stay with me. It's going to make sense in a second. So the numbers that you see on the right side are sales appointments. Sales appointments. Now, the red arrows indicate a phrase that when somebody searched it online, they first landed on that article, how much does a fiberglass pool cost? And so if you add up the red arrows, we had over 200 sales appointments that occurred from people that originally landed on that article, how much does a fiberglass pool cost? So here's the important question. If we never address the question, how many of these sales appointments ever occur? How many? That's right, none. And why? Because they never showed up. But they did show up because we were willing to talk about the thing. And because we were willing to talk about the thing, what happened? Well, because we know every single one of the ones that had a sales appointment, we know their names, we know who bought, we can definitively track all the value of all the sales that came from this one little piece of content that took me 45 minutes to write at my kitchen table one night. And I can tell you without equivocation that that one little article, since the day it was written, has generated over $4.5 million in sales. And by the way, did we ever say how much a fiberglass pool cost? Because you can't, but you can explain the thing. You can teach the marketplace anything you want to teach. You can address anything you want to address. So am I asking you necessarily to always put a price list? Now, for some of you, yes, for e-commerce, of course. I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you to explain the thing always, especially if you're in B2B, especially if you're a manufacturer, and if you're in retail, and if you want to increase your e-commerce sales. Help people understand beyond the number. Just showing a number doesn't mean we've addressed cost and price. Now, let's look at another one for a second. It used to be that people said to me all the time, Marcus, be honest, what are the problems with fiberglass pools? Now, how many pool guys do you think had addressed that question on their website? None, that's right. Why not? What were they afraid of, my man? The elephant in the room, right? And so many just ignored the thing. Instead of ignoring it, we went right at it. and we said, you know what? One of the number one questions we get asked every single day is, what are the issues and what are the problems with fiberglass pools? And so we openly addressed it, and here's what happened next. From a search perspective, over the next couple of years, here's a list of the number one phrases that generate the most sales appointments for our company over the next couple of years. Again, just stay with me. So if you look on the right side, the number one phrase that generated the most was river pools and spas with 56 sales appointments. Well, I don't really count that one because those folks knew who we were. They were already looking for us. So the rest of the people that you see on the screen were folks that when they were searching, they didn't know who they were looking for. They just knew they had a question. And so the number one phrase that generated the most sales appointments for us over the course of 2 years was fiberglass pools problems. How is it possible that talking about the negatives of a particular item that you sell, how is it possible that that could generate what was in this case $500,000 in revenue? How's it possible? Anybody tell me how? Trust, because you answered the question. And so often, it's not you just think about the sale. They just need to know it's safe. It's safe to walk through your doors. It's safe to look at that thing. And if you do that, you're going to see the results. Let's look at verses for a second. You know and I know that people prolifically search versus stuff, right? And so, what's your name, by the way, sir? What's your name? Steven. So Steven, say back in the day, you were looking for a fiberglass pool. You met with Marcus, fiberglass pool guy, back when I still sold pools. And you think you want to get a fiberglass pool. But to keep me honest, Steven, you meet with the concrete pool guy, David here, right? You meet with David, the concrete pool guy, and as soon as you meet with David, what's he going to say about Marcus's fiberglass pools? They suck, right? They suck. You don't want them things, man. Come on, huh? It's a big piece of plastic. You know what I'm saying? It'll crack, it'll pop, it'll just blow out of the ground. I mean, bro, it's not even a real pool. It's like a bathtub in your yard. What are you doing? Here at David's Concrete Pools, we work on these things all the time, and I'm telling you, they have nothing but problems. Don't go down that road. Don't have the issues. You don't want a fiberglass pool. You want concrete instead. Now, a minute ago, he liked me. Now he's freaked out. Now he's wondering, maybe concrete's the option. If he's trying to compare, in his mind, concrete and fiberglass pools, what's he going to do next? That's right, of course he's going to Google it. Here's what's crazy. Guess how many pool guys in the world had addressed this question, concrete versus fiberglass pools, on their website? None of them before, of course, the guy on the stage, right? And why? Because what were they afraid of? Fiberglass pool guy was saying our biggest competitor is concrete pools. So this is how we're going to deal with the problem. We won't even talk about them on our website. And if we don't talk about them, well, then nobody will know they exist. And that's a strong philosophy right there. Thank you, David, concrete pool guy. How many times have you been asked over the years, so if you're me, which would you choose? I'm looking at this brand, I'm looking at that brand. See, tell me the difference. Millions of times. And that's what buyers want to know. But yet, have you addressed that question on your website? Because we are willing to address this question today, if you go online and you compare any type of in-ground pool, we're the first ones that you're going to see. It's generated hundreds of thousands in sales. Take all those questions you've been getting over the years about which would you choose if you were me, address them through video, address them through text. You will become that voice of trust. Now, let's look at one more of these big five and combine the last two, which is reviews and best. Fascinating what's happening with this. We all know reviews are huge. We know that people obsess over the best, but it's still growing. Crazy stat. In the past 2 years, mobile searches for product reviews is still increasing by 35%. Furthermore, videos with the word review in the title had more than 50,000 years worth of watch time on mobile alone over the past 730 days. This is how we have to think. How many of your products are you reviewing right now? How many of your services are you openly reviewing right now and doing it in an honest way? Now, I'm going to show you how transparent you can be with this. Show you how we did it at River Pools. Now, what I'm getting ready to tell you, many of you are going to say, that's crazy. I don't believe it's true, Mark. This freaks me out. Just stay with me for a second. Have you ever been asked before by somebody, we like you guys, we do. We think we want to do business with you. But if we don't do business with you, is there anybody else that you might recommend? Anybody ever heard that question before? Yeah? Well, I know you hate that question, so do I. So do I. One night when I was still a pool guy, I was in Richmond, Virginia. And I had a sales appointment. I met with this couple for about 2 hours. And at the end of that 2.5 hour period, they said, Marcus, we like you. We think we want to get this pull from you. But if we don't get this pull from you, is there anybody else you might recommend? I thought, I really hate this question. I didn't sell the pool that night. But I did have a long drive home. And I said to myself, well, they asked the question, which means what? I got to answer it. That's the rule. They ask, you answer. So I went home that night and I wrote this article right here. Who are the best pool builders in Richmond, Virginia? And I came up with a list of 5 of the best pool builders in Richmond, Virginia. Now, first question for you. Am I on that list of 5, yes or no? Yes. Many of you say yes. Does anybody say no? Be brave. Raise your hand if you say no. Why do you say no, my man? Say it loud. He said, because you're building trust. Yeah, because if you create a best of list for like the best bachelors in Orange County and put yourself on the list, brother, I mean, what's it going to look like? Yeah, you're still not going to score a date. I'm sorry, man, this is not going to happen, right? Because everything comes down to trust. And so I couldn't be self-serving, so no, I'm not on the list. You say, this sounds so weird, pool guy. Stay with me. Stay with me. First off, if they're reading this article, where are they? On my site. They're on your site. We're winning if they're on the site because we're starting that magical conversation of trust. Now, furthermore, let's read the first 2 paragraphs. Now, I'm going to read the first 2 paragraphs. I want you to tell me your impression of this company after the first 2 paragraphs. Now, imagine you just moved to Richmond, Virginia. You want to get a pool. You don't know who you want to get the pool from, so you're trying to figure it out. As soon as you search it, you stumble across this article because it's the only one that's bothered to address the question, best pool builder, Richmond, Virginia. So you start to read it. Now I'm going to read it with you. Again, tell me your impression of this company after these first 2 paragraphs. Each year, we at River Pools and Spas meet with well over 100 households in the Central Virginia, Richmond area with respect to their in-ground swimming pool installation. And because so many folks know our thoughts and feelings from this website on all things pool construction, they often ask us who are some of the other builders or competitors we have in the area. Never once to shy away from being blatantly honest with respect to the competition. Here's a list of some of the companies that have a solid in-ground pool building history in the Richmond area. What's your impression of this company right now? Honest. Do you feel like they're an expert, yes or no? Yes. But did they say they're an expert? No. But you feel it, and you feel it, of course, because they were willing to address the elephant. They were willing to openly talk about something that nobody else was in their space. Then you say, what's the results of this, Marcus? Well, of course, if anybody goes online today and searches best pool builders, Richmond, Virginia, that's the first one you see, but that's not the really cool story. Here's the cool story. Let's say you go online and you search for reviews, Playmore Pools, Richmond, Virginia. That happens to be our biggest competitor in Richmond, Virginia. Once you get past the advertisement that nobody's going to click on anyway, the first search you're going to come to, and the first one you're going to click on is who? That's right, my website. That's why today, if you're researching our competitors, generally speaking, where are you going to learn about them? My website. That's right. You're saying, this guy's ballsy. Yes, very. Now, I had a lady come to me a couple years ago. She said, Marcus, the craziest thing happened. Crazy, Marcus. I was this close to buying a pool from Playmore Pools. But before I bought that pool, I decided to go online and research their company. And as I was researching their company, I stumbled across this article that you guys had written. I said, my goodness, these guys are so honest, I should probably call them too. And of course, you know what happened, don't you? Because otherwise, I wouldn't be telling you the story, would I? You see, that's the choice. The choice we make, we can either be incredibly honest and transparent in the voice of trust or not. But know this, somebody will do it. Consumer ignorance is no longer a viable sales and marketing strategy. They're not dumb. Eventually, they're going to find out. We have to trust that because you're not dumb either. This is the way that we have changed as a society, and because of this, this is the traffic for River Pools website over these past 6, 7, 8 years. When we started in 2009, we barely made it through. That green is that organic search traffic. The reason why it's wavy, of course, is because it's a seasonal business. But it kept going and going until last year we became the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. And I got so many leads in Virginia and Maryland that I had to make a choice. And so I took all the revenue that we had generated during this difficult time for pool companies, where we had been growing, and I put that back into the business. We were getting leads from all over the country, and so we started 18 months ago a manufacturing facility as well. And our dealership base is exploding, and we'll probably be the largest manufacturer of fiberglass pools in the US within the next 7 years. But it all happened because we said, we're gonna be the best teachers in the world when it comes to fiberglass swimming pools. If anybody has a question, good, bad, or ugly, we're going to address it. It's our philosophy, it's our culture, it's our doctrine, it's who we are. It's crazy how little things, little shifts in mindsets can change our businesses. Now, hopefully you see how they ask you answer could apply to you, but this goes even further because things have changed. We're entering a new phase of the way people search. I call it the me revolution. Think of how you, especially on mobile, have changed the way you search for things. Because many of us now are adding phrases that we didn't use when we started this whole internet thing. For example, we love to say, for me. For me. For me, in a phrase, has grown by 130% in the last 2 years in terms of people using it. Let me show you examples of the way people use for me when they're searching for stuff. For example, which car is right for me? What is the best type of investment for me? Which diet is best for my dog? That's cool. Which guitar is the right choice for me? If somebody wanted to, could they come to your website right now and without bias, could they self-select based on some type of simple app solution, almost like a digital salesperson, could they select without bias the right guitar for them? I'm just using that as a simple example. People are obsessing over this right now. But it goes beyond that. Should I? The phrase should I when people search is exploding as well. It's grown 60% in the last 2 years. Should I do this? Should I do that? Let me show you the most popular should I's that people search for online. Do you want to see them? Say yes. Of course you do. Of course you do. This is the human brain right now. Number one, what should I order for lunch? Because apparently you can't figure it out. Number two, should I get my hair cut? My answer, probably not. Probably not. Number three, should I buy Bitcoin? Who the crap knows? Number four, should I text him? No, you shouldn't. Number five, what should I do with my life? This is where we are. We are an advanced civilization. People say, I'm afraid machines are going to run the world. They do. Should I do with my life? Son of a gun. Now, we ain't done yet because this party's still going, okay? I'm going to give you, because I love you, I want to give you 8 tips for awesome. 8 tips for awesome. If you do these 8 things, it's going to really have a big impact on your website, on your social presence. And what I did is I took many of the websites in this room and I studied the things that we're doing well and the things that we need to work on. And I want to highlight some of those things with you right now. So these are great rules to live by with your digital sales and marketing going forward. Here we go. First one, it ain't about you. When somebody comes to your website right now, are they more concerned about them, their issues, their needs, their problems, or are they more concerned about your company? Which one? Them. Yet notwithstanding, 90+% of all businesses, if you go to the homepage of the website, the first thing they talk about is who? Themselves. Themselves. Ain't about you. It's about them. It's about the buyer. It's about the consumer. Let me give you a great example of this right here. A company called Ultimate Ears. Ultimate Ears, are you in the room? Raise your hand if you or stand up if you're from Ultimate Ears. Anybody from Ultimate Ears in this room? Oh, poor you, Ultimate Ears, because you're pretty awesome. Now, let me show you this. This is the homepage. Look at the headline. Who is the headline about? Improve your live performance. Notice, it is all about who? It's all about you. Look at the subheadline. Hear like a pro, about you. Play like a pro, about you, the viewer, the visitor. Let us help you design your in-ear monitor system. This is a company that gets it. They understand it's all about the viewer, the consumer, the listener. This is the type of messaging that you should have. Think about making it for them. You're going to be more successful. Tip number 2, don't show so much bias. Now, I'm going to give you an example of an article that I saw somebody in this room had on their website. No, I'm not going to point you out, so stop worrying that person. Heart beating fast, heart beating fast. Look at this title right here. 7 reasons our guitars are better than theirs. Is this company biased or not? Yes or no? They are some biased individuals. How many times have you looked at something online and within seconds, before you even clicked, when you looked at the title, you knew it was biased? Happens every single day. So the key is don't come across as biased. Don't say it like this. Instead say X brand versus Y brand guitars, an honest review. Now that will get my attention. Now that is believable. Speak like that and you'll start to become that voice of trust within your space. Number 3, we have an epidemic in this room. The technical phrase is called a slider. They're the things on your homepage at the top that there's this image that just goes like this and then another image appears and then another image appears. Have you ever been on a website and you were reading that first image and then before you got done reading, what happened? And then what did you feel in that moment? You wanted to kill everybody. This is why bad things happen. Sliders do not agree with our brain. Remember, what defines a great website is I want to find it fast, quickly, now. When you put a slider, you're forcing them to learn your way, not their way, not their way. It's all about psychology. Make the user experience faster, easier, quicker, quick to find it, and you're going to see the difference. Number 4, oh, this one is powerful, very powerful. Site speed, changing the world, changing your world right now. Especially on mobile, is massive. You've heard it, but it's just getting bigger and bigger. Let's see how good you are, okay? I've got a challenge for you. The average mobile retail website loads in. Now, I want to have everybody do something for me quickly. Pull out your phones. Quick, pull out your phones. Now, you can't probably use the Wi-Fi because they never work at events, so you might not be able to do that. But I want you very quickly, I want you to type in your URL, and don't hit go yet. I'm going to tell you when to go. All right, I'm going to tell you when to go. Everybody got your URL? Everybody about got it? All right, now, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say go, and then I'm going to count out loud. And we're going to see how long it takes to load. Ready? On your mark, get set, go. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000, 10, 1,000. Now stop. Now I got the question for you. The average retail mobile website, does anybody know how long it takes to load? The average in the world right now. Take a guess. Anybody throw out a number? Okay, my man said 6 is pretty good, Herb. You're a pretty smart fella. 6.9 seconds, that is the average. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Studies have shown, and this, of course, is Google, that 40% of consumers will leave a page that takes longer than 3 seconds. All you said, yes, I just lost half my customers before they even arrived. Now, some of you right now hate your webmaster. Yes, you should. Next one. Got to make it faster, guys. Next one. Consistency with your brand matters. You see, what's happening is we're getting all of these platforms. We're getting social, and we're getting our websites, and we're getting our YouTube channels, and we got sub-channels, and we got all this stuff going on. And oftentimes, we can get very consistent with the brand. So the key is you want to look for that same look across all of these channels. Great example of this, Fender, right? Fender, if you go to their YouTube channel right now, they have incredible uniformity that they have across the entire brand. Now you might say, well, they're a big manufacturer. Yes, but it doesn't. You realize that many times it's harder for these big manufacturers to do some of these simple things than it is for these mom and pops. Never about the size of the company. It's about the mindset. It's about the mentality. Anybody here from Fender? Raise your hand if you're from Fender, just so I can see if anybody here's from Fender. Well, Fender, you'd have been smarter if you'd been here. That's okay. All right, so number six, teach, communicate, and sell the way they want it. What I mean by that? Okay, here's a perfect example of that. Anybody heard of Sweetwater? Remember Sweetwater? Now, Sweetwater has this cool guy. If you go to the YouTube homepage right now, if you go to their YouTube channel, you see their intro video comes up, and this cool guy named Mitch Gallagher starts to talk to you. Mitch is a bona fide gangster. I love Mitch. I don't know him, but I feel like I know him because he talks to me like a human. And what's so cool, he explains to me so clearly what is going to be on the channel, what I am going to learn, what I'm going to see, why I should subscribe. He doesn't just take it for granted that I get it, but he says it in such a way that I feel like we've been friends for years. If you get a chance today, I want you to go watch Mitch and tell him we were talking about him, because they're doing some great things at Sweetwater, all right? And then, number 7, see how so many of these are aligned? That's the essence of they ask, you answer. Know your customer and speak to them. It's all about them. So, for example, I love what Paige's Music is doing for band directors. This is a vision that they have as an organization. Now, I'm going to read this visionary statement. If you go to their band directors section and you look at this, it says, on this site, now ask yourself, who's the hero as they talk? On this site, we aim to celebrate you, the directors we serve. We know there are so many of you who work so very hard to provide a top quality music education to your students, and we simply want to highlight you and your efforts. Who's the hero there? Who's the hero? The customer, the director, and that's what it's all about. The customer, the director. Anybody from Paige's here? Rick, stand up, fellas. Stand up. Y'all are feeling pretty good right now. Give them a big round of applause. That's what it's all about. Good stuff. And then finally, number 8 stat is by the year 2019, which is how many months away? 11 months. They say 80% of the content consumed online will be video-based content. This is the rock in everyone's shoe. It is going to stay there until we deal with the issue. It's not going away. So what does it mean? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? I can tell you. Fundamentally, it means that you and me, regardless of what we sell, we are media companies. I'm a media company that happens to sell pools. I'm a media company that happens to speak and consult with organizations of brands all over the world, but I am a media company, and so are you. And think about it for a second. How many people in your space make the same claims? We give great customer service. It's our people that make us special. See, everybody says it, and if everybody is saying the same thing, what does it mean to the marketplace? Nothing until you show the thing. And so the point is, unless you show it, it doesn't exist. This must be your philosophy going forward. Unless you show it, it doesn't exist. And of course, the example that we all know in this industry that truly gets it as a media organization is Anderton's. Has anybody gone? Raise your hand if you've ever been to Anderton's website and looked at some of the things they're doing online. An absolutely phenomenal retail organization that goes beyond the idea that people just walk through our doors. Look at this, Anderton TV. For all our great shows and more new shows coming this year, please subscribe to Anderton's TV. You won't be disappointed, and no, you won't, because they have their stuff together. Anderton's, are you in the room, by the way? Anybody from Anderton's in the room? Okay, couldn't make it across the pond. Amazing company. Make sure you check them out today. Now, as we close out, I want to show you how this can become a culture for any organization. Now, I mentioned that I've worked with companies all over the world, retail organizations and whatnot. This man here came to me about 5, 6 years ago, and he said, Marcus, we're producing content, but we're not getting results. You see, his name is Steve Scheinkopf. He owns a retail appliance company in the Boston, Mass area. So they sell kitchen appliances, basically. He said, why are we not getting this growth? Because I'm producing this content. So I looked at his traffic, and his traffic was pretty flat at first. And I said, well, I can see why you're not getting growth, Steve, because you like to talk about Steve. But you see, what people want to know is their questions, their needs, their issues. And so he bought into this philosophy of the Big Five. He started to talk about the things that nobody else was willing to talk about. And one of the first things he did, he said to his entire retail sales team, he said, if you are in sales in this organization, you're going to be a part of the content production process. And so somebody on their marketing team meets with those sales team members, those retail sellers, every single month to produce articles, to produce videos, to answer the questions that they're getting. It is part of who they are. But they didn't stop there. You see, they started producing some of the gutsiest content I've ever seen. Now, I want you to look at this and think about this for a second. Let's say that you're getting ready to buy a kitchen appliance. You want to make sure it's not going to break down. And so Steve was constantly being asked, so which of these brands that you sell is the best one? Which one is not going to have all the problems? I don't want all these problems. And finally, Steve said, we're going to address this question. And he did it with guts. He did it in a way that nobody would. Now, I'm going to read the second and the fourth paragraph. I want you to follow with me. Ask yourself, are you willing to be this transparent with your customers? Steve says, second paragraph, one of the benefits of having a huge service department is data collection. We will be in approximately 130 to 150 homes today fixing appliances, with a good portion being less than a year old and under warranty. That's 650 homes per week, at least, or roughly 34,000 calls a year, not including homes with multiple calls. That's the math behind this post. It's sales generated versus warranty service calls within 1 year. So the question is, what are we fixing the least? And then he shows you a massive list of all the brands that he has sold, the total units he has sold from each one, the total service calls that he has seen on each one, and then he shows you the least serviced all the way to the most serviced brand that he sells. Gutsy? Yeah. Trust? Heck yeah. You see, this is the choices that we make. This is the choices that we make. And because he was willing to do stuff like this, he gets comments from all over the world. People like Cynthia, you're objective, and that's the key word. Objective appliance analysis and recommendations are incredibly valuable. Thank you so much for putting it out here for clueless homeowners like me to read. I'm on the West Coast, so I can't repay your generosity by giving you my business. All I can give you is my heartfelt thanks. And of course, what happened to Yale? They went and they just exploded. Last month, they got 630,000 visitors to their website. And today, they completely dominate the retail industry. And many of those big manufacturers are saying, how did this one little retailer in Boston, Mass. dominate and become the thought leader of this space? And it's because they thought differently. And they saw themselves as teachers. And you say, well, that's just traffic growth, Marcus. What's the impact on the business? Okay, you know I'm going to show it. They started at 37 million in 2011. 2016, they hit 85 million while spending $700,000 less a year in advertising. They went from one store to two. Their margins in a brutal, cutthroat industry just like yours, where e-commerce is dominating so much, are up 5%. They're getting 3,700 leads a month to the website right now. And just to all bring it together, since starting this, they've got over 135,000 people that have filled out a form on their website, and of those, 6,000 they can track have become an actual retail customer. Steve says, and I quote, we can account for at least $10 million a year in revenue coming from people that first visited our website, and they do zero e-commerce. This is why you should never buy into this idea that retail is dying. Steve laughs when he hears these studies because, yes, although it's changing, we have a chance to change and evolve with it. And so that is the great challenge, and that's my challenge to you. Don't do it like we've been doing it for the last 50 years. Create new rules in this space. Just as we did at River Pools, people kept saying to me, you can't do that, pool guy. I said, why not? That's what the buyer would want. And because of that now, people talk about it, and it's in these business books, and it's just like, to me, so utterly simple. And speaking of simple, let me share one last story with you before we close. A few years ago, I was speaking in Dallas, Texas. And when I was done, this reporter came up to me and he said, Marcus, this thing you did with your pool company is so fascinating. Okay, great. He said, can I do a story on this? I said, sure, that's fine. I didn't think anything of it until we spoke for 90 minutes on the phone a few days later. And then a few days after that, they sent a photographer down to my swimming pool company. And then a few days after that, on the cover of the small business section of the New York Times appeared this article right here. Now I want you to look close. There's two ironies to this article. The first one is this. That shirt really makes me look fat. I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, that was the day I went from stripes to solid. Guys, you got one chance. You got one chance, gentlemen. Now, here's the serious one, though. I want you to look at the title. Look at the title. A revolutionary marketing strategy. Answer customers' questions. Well, daggum, New York Times, you have outdone yourself today. Do you realize this became the #1 shared and emailed story for the business section of the Times for the next 3 days? They reran it again that Saturday in the blog section. And then over the coming months, I got over 1,000 emails from business owners, manufacturers, people just like you around the world. And it's funny how almost all of them said the same two things. First thing they said was, my goodness, Marcus, that thing you did with your pool company was so simple. Yes, yes. But that's how it always works, right? It's by the simple things are great things brought to pass. The second thing they said was, Marcus, I feel like you've given me permission to do that which I have always felt we should be doing. And some of you this morning, as I've been talking, have been saying to yourself, I've been feeling that for a while. I've been thinking that for a while. I'm just asking you to follow those impressions you've been getting because you get them for a reason. Our challenge is to be the best teachers in the world. And so, instead of shying away from tech and all that has happened, let's go right at it. Let's see ourselves as media companies. Let's see ourselves as teachers. Obsess over their questions. Adjust to the way they want to buy. And if you do that, I promise you, everything will change. You are awesome. Thank you very much.